Thanks for tuning in to this week's video. I am so excited to be able to finally share the results of my kitchen renovation. You know, when I first got Mr. Green, I had all these really big plans to rebuild and redesign a bunch of things about the RV, including the kitchen. I wanted to rip out the counter and build like a butcher block top and move the sink, build a coffee bar, things like that, but I didn't end up doing any of those things. Not only did it cost a lot more money than I thought it would, but just like everything else about this RV, it would take a lot more work than I initially expected. So I didn't end up doing those things. Plus, after taking the RV out for a couple of trips already, I've realized that the kitchen is actually pretty great already, and it works really well for the space. So there was really no need to redesign or rebuild anything, but it did need a facelift. I mean, this is almost 30-year-old rig, and even though the wood is beautiful, I just felt like it was too dark, and I really wanted to brighten up the space and make it look a little bit more modern. So instead of ripping out the counter, I ended up using an epoxy countertop refinishing kit. So I'll be showing you how I did that. But first, I simply did a paint job on it, and even that made a really big difference.
The first thing I did was remove all of the cabinet doors. And this time, instead of sanding, I thought I would try using liquid sandpaper. I've never used this product before, but it ended up being really easy. You simply pour some of the product onto a cloth and then rub it onto the surfaces and let it dry. After about 5 or 10 minutes, it removes the gloss from the surfaces, so it is ready to paint. I really liked using this method. It just made it so much quicker and easier than sanding, and there was just no mess, no dust, no cleanup. So I really liked using this method and continued to use it on the rest of the cabinets. For the paint, I really like the Behr Scuff Defense brand paint. I used a different paint for the other cabinets, and this one, the Scuff Defense, just goes on so much better and easier because it's a paint and a primer. Plus, it's made to be more durable and stain resistant, so it wears a lot better than just a standard wall paint. So I didn't want everything in the RV to be just plain white, so it's hard to tell in this video, but I painted the base cabinets a gray color just to give it a little bit of dimension and contrast from the upper cabinets. And then I painted the upper cabinets the same white paint that I did for the rest of the cabinets. The only thing I didn't paint was the control panel. I wanted to leave this in its original form because I just think it is so cool. I mean, what other RV comes with a barometer? Like I mentioned earlier, I originally wanted to tear out this countertop and move the sink, but I decided to just leave it as is. However, it's a fiberglass top, so there were a lot of scratches and scuffs and stains on it. Plus, it was this cream color that no longer went with my color scheme, so I decided to refinish the surface instead. I went with this epoxy countertop refinishing kit by Giani, and it comes with everything you need to create the look of a faux marble countertop. The first step is to wet sand the entire surface. The instructions say you can use a Scotch-Brite pad, but I decided to use a 400 grit sandpaper instead. After masking all of the edges, the next step is to paint the base coat. I went with the white marble kit, but they also have a black marble kit as well. And what's really nice is that each kit comes with everything you need to complete the project. not just the paints, but it also comes with the paint brushes, the rollers, the drop cloths, even the little paint tray is provided for you, which is a pretty good deal. After painting 2 base coats and allowing them to dry, it is now time to start painting the marble veining. Now there are so many different kinds of marble patterns out there, so they suggest going online and looking at images of different marble patterns and finding the one that you like the most, and then using that image as a guide. This next part may seem really intimidating to some of you, especially if you don't consider yourself an artistic person, but it's actually not as scary as it looks. You simply start painting the marble pattern onto the surface, and then you spray it with a little water, which helps the paint sort of disperse and create its own little organic natural pattern, and then you take a paintbrush to blend it out even further, and then you just keep doing that until you get the look that you want for the marble pattern. And what's really nice is that this is very forgiving. So if you mess up or if you don't like the way that it's turning out, all you have to do is spray it with some water and take a paper towel, and you can simply wipe it off or wipe off the section that you don't like, and then you can just start over. So it's very forgiving, and it actually ends up being pretty fun. After you're done painting the marble pattern, you then use the included sponge and dab on some white highlights. This just gives it a more natural, granular sort of texture that you would see on real marble. Just makes it look a little bit more realistic. The last step is the actual clear epoxy pour. Now, the instructions were very specific about mixing the epoxy and the activator, and they said that you had to stir it for exactly, and they wrote that in all caps, exactly 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So I set up my timer and poured the epoxy activator together and set my timer and just mixed for exactly 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I was really intimidated by this step because I didn't want to mess it up, so I thought I would start with the small sink cover pieces first, just to sort of get used to the process. And so all you have to do is you literally pour the epoxy on and then gently spread it around. Now it is self-leveling, so it will eventually level itself out, but you just want to make sure it gets distributed evenly. And then once I felt comfortable with that, I moved on to the main countertops and you just start working in small sections, pouring and then spreading it out. And here's the final result. I think it looks really nice, and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. I think it just adds that sort of upscale, elegant touch to the RV. Once the counters were done, I was able to add some finishing touches to the kitchen, like adding some new wallpaper. I also installed this cute little fruit hammock and hung some trivets on the wall. Not only are they functional, but I thought they added a little bit of an artistic pop to the wall. I also replaced the old fluorescent light fixture with this dimmable LED light. I replaced the faucet and also installed some cellular shades. The last thing I wanted to do was replace this weird vinyl pad that they had at the end of the cabinet. So I took it off of the wall and removed the fabric from it and glued on a couple layers of cork material, and then I used some leftover fabric that I had from the couch cushions that I made and reupholstered this panel to create a bulletin board. I wanted a place where I'd be able to display souvenirs or pictures or other memorable items that I was able to gather along my travels. Okay, one more time. Here is the kitchen before the makeover. And here's the kitchen now. What do you think?
Thank you for staying all the way to the end and watching this video. I really appreciate all of the support and the kind words that I've been getting on my videos. Let me know what you think about my kitchen makeover. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. And I hope you come back next week, where I plan to tell you all about a recent boondocking trip. It was our first time boondocking in Mr. Green, and I was pretty nervous about it because of a disastrous trip we had up in Canada, but it actually ended up turning out really nice, and we had a really nice time. And so I hope you come back to hear all about that. But until then, take care and have a great week.